Hello, and welcome back to the Words of Wooffles podcast. I am your host, Wooffles, and yeah, this is episode 2, I guess. Let's get into it. What does that even mean? What am I getting into? If you're listening to this, welcome back, or welcome. I don't know. Yeah, so I think for this video, for the last one, I briefly mentioned how my old roommate stole my cat. And I thought that would be a interesting rant that I could have and just kind of share that story because it's quite a story. There's a lot of a lot of aspects to it. So if you're listening, buckle in because it's gonna be a ride for sure. So this roommate in question, I lived with her. I probably shouldn't use her real name, even though it is a very like standard name. But just for the sake of Anna, not anonymity, whoa, how do you say that word? Like anonymous, but like anonymity. I think that's how you say it. For the sake of anonymity. Wow, I can't talk sometimes. Great to have a podcast when you struggle to say words. Anyways, I'll call her Rebecca. All right, so this old roommate, Rebecca. She was one of my best friends from the ages of, we met when I was 16 up until I was 23, I think. Yeah, that's when things started to devolve. For context, I don't think I even mentioned my age in the first episode, but I am 24, so this is all fairly recent. But yeah, so she was one of my best friends, and we lived together for a long time. Since college started. So freshman year of college, we shared a dorm together, and then we lived in 2 different apartments together. So from the ages of like 18 up until last year, we were roommates, which was, you know, there were a lot of issues that I had with her before this situation even happened, but we don't really have to get into those specifics. It just, she was one of my best friends, but she wasn't always the greatest person. I just kind of didn't realize it at the time, which is kind of a common theme with a lot of people that have been in my life. I kind of don't realize that, you know, certain dynamics aren't the best because they're important people to me, and I just kind of, go with the flow or whatever. I could be a bit of a pushover to say. Less so now. I've gotten better with that, but definitely in the past that was a big thing. But anyway, things for the most part were fine. And last year, we found a cat. It was an adorable little black cat that was a stray outside of my apartment. The apartment I used to live at had a lot of strays. That's actually where I found my current cat, Gumball. He was also a stray. But yeah, this black cat was one of those strays. And we decided to take her in as like our cats. We had another roommate at the time as well, so she was kind of like all 3 of our cats, but mainly it was me and Rebecca's cat. And I mean, I was, first of all, let me say, I was the one who actually like really wanted to take her. My roommate was kind of more like not really the one that was really pushing for it, but like regardless, we both decided to, and I you know, I did a lot for her as far as like I bought a lot of like the food and like scratching post and litter box and stuff because as I talked about in my first episode, I am a manager at a pet store, so you know I got my little 15% discount. So I, you know, used that to get a lot of stuff for her. I took care of her a lot, of course. Like I loved her very much. She was very much equally our cat, even though, as we'll get into later, she kind of made it seem like that wasn't the case. But basically, what happened. So we have this cat together, right? We both love her, take care of her. But about let's see, a few months into owning this cat together. So there's a lot to get into. I was with this guy, my ex-boyfriend, for a long time, like 5 years in total. And it was a tumultuous relationship, to say the least. It was very toxic, very on and off, very, you know, abusive at times. You know, if you've ever been in that kind of situation where you're in a kind of toxic, abusive relationship, it's much clearer looking back on it, like all the things that were wrong. But when you're in it and you quote love each other and everything, it's a lot harder to, you know, really see the full picture of it. And it could be, you know, very damaging on your mental health, of course. But basically, I was I was with this guy and I decided to break up with him after a very bad night. Where you know it was a lot occurred that was not great. And it's not like it was just him that was like toxic. I also had my own set of issues. For even more context, I have a personality disorder, BPD, which stands for borderline personality disorder. If you know anything about that, it's it can cause issues, especially in relationships, and for me, mostly in the romantic relationships. So that also definitely, you know, contributed to the problems that we had, but I think it was the way that he reacted to my problems that was, you know, more of the issue. I'm trying to be as objective as possible. But I definitely, you know, I'm not saying I was perfect, because I was not. We both had plenty of issues, and those issues combined just not a good not a good time. But yeah, so I break up with him. It's not the first time we've broken up at this point. Like I said, it was very on and off, but we would never be broken up for very long at a time. They're always pretty, you know, short breakups before we'd get back together because I was stupid and I thought that things would get better. But at this particular time, I thought that we would be broken up for good. Um, and also, let me just throw in real quickly that I have a new boyfriend now. And we've been together for a little over 4 months, and I love him very much, and he is perfect and amazing, and he's actually the person who inspired me to even start this podcast. So I really appreciate him, and he's amazing, and I'm sure I'll talk about him plenty more later on. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly throw that in there. But anyway, so this would have been last year around October. We break up, and I assume that we are actually like broken up at this point. We're not going to get back together because, like I said, it happened after a very bad night, and I was like, okay, I cannot allow myself to be treated this way anymore. Like, this is not good. Even with my BPD, I was finally able to, like, at least I thought, be done with it. And because I thought that that was finally actually the end of our relationship, I felt comfortable enough to rant to Rebecca, my roommate at the time, about some of the things that occurred. You know, like I said, not very pretty things. Like when it like there was physical abuse basically that happened, and I'm not trying to justify any of that because physical abuse is never justified. Obviously, no kind of abuse in a relationship is ever justified. But again, being the person in that situation, like it's very easy to come up with excuses for the person that you love or whatever. So yeah, so like in my mind, even though that stuff was going on, it was like, well, like, he was drunk because he was like an alcoholic. So I tried to use like alcohol as an excuse for him, and it's like it only happened like a few times, like. So anyway, I really got into a lot of the details that occurred with this ex towards Rebecca. Really told her like a lot of the stuff that happened, and of course, like I didn't go into any of the problems that I was bringing. It was really just a rant about, everything bad about him. And understandably so, Rebecca was like on the, okay, so fuck this guy. Like, you should absolutely stay broken up with him. Like, good that you're moving on. Like, he's terrible for you, etc., etc. Like, which is all completely understandable, and I would expect that out of any friend I have. Like, I would not want one of my friends to get back with someone who was treating them that way. Like, of course, like, you deserve better, and I did deserve better, of course. But yeah, so I felt like I could trust her in telling her that information, not thinking like, anything would be used against me. Because although, her advice that I shouldn't get back with him was all very understandable and everything, it's hard. It's not that straightforward when you're in the situation to just be done with a person, especially when you're, mentally ill like I am with BPD. That makes it especially difficult. So, so after that, not too long after that, I would say probably like 3 weeks, maybe a month later, I inevitably end up getting back with this ex, even after everything, which of course was a stupid idea, like, of course, and I recognize that fully now. But again, when you're in the situation, it's hard. It's very difficult. And again, understandably, Rebecca was not pleased with my decision to get back with him, which she shouldn't have been, of course, and I didn't expect her to be. But in my opinion, if I had a friend that was going through that kind of situation and she chose to get back with this toxic, abusive person, like, of course, I'm not going to support that decision. I'm not going to be happy about that decision. And like, I would give my honest, like, thoughts on it, like, as she did, which is completely fair and justifiable. But I would not hold it against the person, and I would try to have some empathy and like basically, like, I would still try to be there for that person, because like they're the one who is going through like that difficult situation, and at the end of the day, like, everyone is gonna make their own decisions, and you, as someone's friend, you don't have control over what they're gonna do with their life. Even if you think they're making a terrible decision, which I was, you can't like stop them. Like that's not your place. You could give your advice, you could let them know how you feel, but that's kind of all you can do. But she really wanted to be kind of like have control over me. And like this wasn't like the first time that's been a thing. I kind of looking back realize there's much more of a pattern. But she kind of took it out on me and kind of just started treating me poorly because she was unhappy with my decision and started making like me out to be this like bad person for it, which I know this story is supposed to be about stealing a cat, so getting back to that, she somehow used me getting back with my toxic ex as some kind of reason that now I'm incapable of caring for a cat. That was her line of reasoning. So she just it was a process of like her like starting to like keep the cat like away from me and claim that like I wasn't like the one taking care of her and all this shit, which of course made me so angry. I love that cat. Like, and you're gonna take her away from me because you don't agree with my life decisions that have nothing to do with you. And that's the thing, like with my ex, like I was like the quote like victim, right? As far as like being the recipient of abuse. But she tried to spin it to where like somehow she was the victim for my decision to get back with him, as if it had anything to do with her, and it didn't. Like I was completely honest with her about everything, about like getting back with him and stuff. Like he was never around her. I didn't like force them to be in the same room together because I knew like she wouldn't want that, and like that's fine with me. Like I didn't make it her problem. I just made the mistake of telling her, you know, everything, and she decided to use that against me and make me out to be this crazy person who can't be trusted with taking care of a cat, apparently. Which, yeah. I was already going through enough with the whole ex situation that, like, that when she started acting this way with the cat, it really kind of set me off the edge. And so another thing with the cat, when we got her, she was pregnant, and she had a kitten, just one adorable little black kitten, and she tried her best to not allow me to be around the kitten or the cat really at this point, like whenever the kitten was born. Or I guess it would have been like shortly after it was born is when like the whole me getting back with my ex situation occurred. But yeah, so she and like I love animals. Like if anyone knows anything about me, it's that like I love animals. Like that's just like that's like my thing, you know? Like I would never like do anything to an animal. Like I would always do my best to take care of animals and like I just want to love them. And like especially like a little like tiny kitten, like I just wanted to be around him and like love him because like he was so adorable. But like she like would like just not like let me, and oh my god, it made me so mad. And then the cat got pregnant again shortly after the kitten was born. And she knew how upset I was over not getting the first kitten because I was the first person who said that I like wanted him, especially after I started like seeing that she was trying to take our first cat from me. So I was like, I wanted the kitten, but she ended up allowing her boyfriend at the time, I don't know if they're still together, don't know, don't care, to get the kitten. So I was like, all right, whatever. The cat gets pregnant again, and we have a conversation where she tells me that because I didn't get the first kitten, even though I was the first person who said I wanted him, and it was also my cat, just as much as it was her cat, even though she tried to make it seem like it wasn't. She was like, okay, you can get a kitten this time. It was an agreement that we made, and I was like, okay, perfect. The kitten's born. She doesn't even tell me about it, because all this time she's like keeping what was supposed to be our cat like locked away in her room. The only time like I would be able to like interact with her is when she was like gone, and I would like secretly like take her, because like fuck you, she's my cat, like what the fuck. So when the kitten's born, she doesn't tell me. About like a few days after, I'm like asking her about it, and she's like, oh yeah, like just like, yeah, I didn't tell you, like it's fine, like, and apparently her other friend is getting it, and I was like, and then I really lost it. I was like, not only are you stealing my cat that I love away from me, but now the kitten that you promised I could have, now I can't have that either. Like, oh my god. Was I fucking pissed off. So we end up having I'm not a confrontational person, which like I wish I was, because I would have confronted her about the whole situation a lot sooner if I was, and maybe like the solution would have been different. But I really just tried my best to like not create conflict, because I already knew that she was uncomfortable with my choice to get back with my ex, which again had nothing to do with her, but like I just didn't want to cause any more like problems. But when we had that conversation about like that I wasn't even gonna get the kitten, like it just set me off, and I was like screaming at her like pure like BPD rage, like, and of course like that just gave her even more ammo to make me seem like I'm crazy and unstable and unfit to take care of an animal. Which, by the way, at the time, I already had my bearded dragon, Haku, who I love very much, and she's amazing. But anyway, and she had a little mourning gecko that, guess what, died under her care, that she had in a tiny little tank and clearly wasn't taking care of it properly, because they're supposed to live, like, a lot longer than it lived. It only lived, like, a few months with her. And but apparently I'm the bad pet owner, right? I am unfit because I have BPD. Like, yeah, okay, that's how it works. So anyway, so after we had that screaming, well, I was screaming, of course, because you stole my cat, and now I also can't even see the kitten that I was promised to be able to own. Like, I think any person would be upset about that, obviously. But I digress. So I scream at her. We have that whole thing. She tries to act like she is still like in the right. Like she had this like moral superiority complex. Like, oh my god, it pissed me off. It's like she knows everything. She's better than me. Like she knows what's right. Oh god, fuck that bitch. But anyway. So after that, I am obviously still upset. So I go and like take a shower, and I remember like I started playing like loud ass like metal music. I just wanted to be like as obnoxious as possible. And of course I was like, I was having what I would say a bit of a BPD meltdown. I was like kind of like punching the wall a bit, like nothing crazy. Like I've done way worse, but I was upset because like I love that cat, and now it's taken from me because of something completely unrelated. Like it's so frustrating to me. So obviously I was upset. Who wouldn't be, right? And then I hear her leave the apartment, and about like 30 minutes later, after I'm already like finally calmed down, I started like smoking some weed. I was a heavy weed smoker at the time. Nowadays I don't really smoke weed too often at all, actually. But at this time of my life, I was like heavily smoking like every day. So I was like, I had my little bowl of weed, just chilling. Finally got myself to just like calm down. And then I hear like banging on the door. And I'm like, what the hell? And it was a fucking ambulance, like EMS people. She called for a wellness check on me. Like, she made me upset because she stole my cat from me. I reasonably get upset over that. And then she calls for a wellness check. She's supposed to be like one of my best friends. She doesn't try to, like, you know, be a decent person. She calls the ambulance because why? Like, again, I guess it was just all like a ploy to like make her look like a good person. Who cares? She just wanted to make sure I was okay, which that's why she left and then had people, the EMS people, come wasting their time because I was like completely chilling at this point. I opened a door and I'm like, hello, like what's going on? And they like told me that like someone like called for wellness check, and I was like, oh my god, this fucking bitch. And I remember I even like told like one of the like women that was like there that I was like, listen, like she stole my cat. Like I was upset because she stole my cat. Like I'm fine. Like I didn't like cut myself or anything. Like I was completely fine. Even though like, cause you know, like I used to struggle with self-harm and stuff. But like I literally didn't even do that. Like I was just mad at her. Like that's literally all that happened because of the shit she was doing. So I told one of the ambulance people that, and she was like, oh no, I had someone like try to steal my dog once. I completely understand. Like no worries. Like we just kind of like started like joking, or not joking, but like relating with each other on that, which is kind of funny. And then they just had me like sign something saying I was good, and then they left. And like I apologized to them. I'm like, I'm sorry for her like wasting your time. Like you did not, like I'm fine. Like that's crazy that she did that. And then I sent her an angry text about that, and then she's like, you know, again, trying to pretend like she did it because she cares about me, which, like, okay, yeah, that's what friends do when they care about someone. They call the ambulance on them when they're just mad at you. Whatever. Didn't make sense to me, but whatever. So, yeah. And from that point, I was just able to see the cat less and less. She basically had her at her boyfriend's house all the time, and she eventually moves out of our apartment before the lease is up. So she was technically still living there and still paying rent, but she had, well, I say she was still paying rent. Her mom paid her rent the whole time we lived together. As a grown-ass adult who dropped out of college, she had her mom paying her rent. So it's real easy for her, you know. She could just leave while her mom paid the rent, and she didn't have to worry about it. If you can't tell, I really do not like this woman. This is really just a rant of me saying fuck her, she sucked. Because she did. So, yeah. And then she eventually moves out for good. And I will never see that cat again. And I loved her so much, and it makes me very upset. All because I was making a wrong decision that did not affect her life whatsoever. She decided to make my life even worse by, oh, not only are you with someone who is treating you terribly and making you feel just awful about yourself, but now you also don't have your cat anymore. Fuck you. And from losing her as a friend, I lost like 2 other like very close friends at the time as well. So lost friends, lost cat, and I'm with someone who's abusing me, which apparently no one cared about unless it was in relation to them, is how she made it seem. Oh, whatever. It's fine. But yeah, not too long after I got back with him, we ended up actually breaking up for good. So that would have been in like June, I believe, of 2024. Yeah, so pretty recent. But now I'm with someone, like I said, who is amazing, and I love him so much. If you're listening to this, hi. You're probably the only person listening to this, if anyone. But yeah, he's amazing, and I'll probably do another episode sometime about like how it is transitioning from like a toxic relationship like I had with my ex to like a very good healthy one, which is what I'm in now, which is it's let me say it's a great change, of course. But I think some of the trauma that I went through with my ex definitely like affects how I view things in my relationship now. It's like I'm constantly, just worried that things are gonna become the way that they were with my ex, which I don't think they would with this guy, because he's amazing, and I could honestly see myself being with him forever. Which might sound insane because we've only been together for 4 months, but I mean, it's just, yeah, I feel like you know when you know. And if we end up breaking up, then I mean, whatever. But I don't think we will. I love him a lot, and yeah. But yeah. So that's kind of a story about my bitch of an ex roommate who stole my cat. Fuck her. Yeah. If anyone's listening to this, I would like your input. Maybe some people think I was in the wrong for that situation. Whatever. I don't know. And if you have any suggestions of anything you want me to talk about or anything like that, I'd appreciate it. How do people feel about the format? I know on the first episode I kind of just had like a naturey background going on. How do we feel about that? I didn't really know what to do with it, to be honest. We'll see what I do moving forward. I have other ideas, but at the moment, this isn't even like anything, and I don't even really expect it to ever become anything. It's more just me getting out my thoughts and feelings on random shit. But if anyone is listening, I appreciate it. And yeah, stay tuned for episode 3 of the Words of Wooffles. I don't know what I'll talk about yet, but we'll see. And yeah, fuck my old roommate. I hope if you're with anyone that sucks like that, get away. Move out when you can. Don't let them steal your cats. But it's fine anyway, because Gumball, my current cat, is way better anyway, so fuck that bitch. Am I right? Alright, it was fun having this little rant. And yeah, have a great day. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.